All right, welcome to Chatterbox Bearcats, everyone. The Limp Bizkit's playing. The frickin' Limp Bizkit's playing. That's when you know things are bad. 10 games ago, I was sad. I'm now mad. Senior night at the University of Cincinnati ends with a 49-point performance. You lose in a must-win game to Kansas State. You're swept by a near sub-500 team, 54-49 in your home building. The way that you lost it, just careless mistakes, zero offensive identity. Nothing was easy. I don't know what to say, man. I'm just mad. Not many times in my life. I look forward to Bearcats games. Chuck Walter, by the way, alongside Houdini. You can subscribe to the show wherever you get your audio podcasts and on YouTube. Not many times do I want to turn a Bearcats game off before it's over. Unless it's a 17-point game, never. And a 3-4-point game with the season on the line, it was tempting. It was that bad of a watch. I'm embarrassed. It was a funeral home in there on senior night. It's just, this is not the program I fell in love with right now. It's a tough watch.
You don't even hit the 50-point mark on senior night. I mean, what are we doing? We're playing Kansas State. Our lives are on the line. That's the energy you come out with. And just get right into the end of the game. I mean, we were probably going to lose anyway, but we fouled with 12 seconds left on the shot clock. We let them wind it down all the way to 12. We had 15 seconds differential if they missed the shot that we could have. It was a one-possession game. What the hell are we doing? Wes was yelling to foul. Like, what are you doing? It's like we're trying to self-sabotage us. I mean, don't even get me started on the turnovers, the sloppiness.
It's self-sabotage, brother.
that.
It's self-sabotage. Like, this is not going to work out at the University of Cincinnati. They're going to give it another year. That's the thing. And we're just going to sit here and do the post-game shows and tell the truth. We give them the praise when they deserve the praise. We hammer them when they deserve to be hammered. But, I mean, in a win-or-go-home situation on your home floor against frickin' Kansas State, 2-9 on the road, to put up that effort, it was a horrible watch. It was a horrible, horrible watch.
It felt like we were watching an exhibition game. I mean, like, initially I was like, what the hell? Like, this feels like these guys are going through the motions. They're sleepwalking. And we got out to an early lead too, which I don't even know how we did that. I mean, we weren't boxing out. We weren't doing shit that you should be doing in preseason, let alone in March with your tournament lives on the line in year 4 of Wes's tenure. And that's what you do, man. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, Jizzle James, I mean, we love Jizzle. He's kind of been the only guy, him and Day-Day, that have really kept this engine going. But he was just handing the basketball to the other team for like 4 possessions in a row. Mm-hmm. It just can't happen. In Kansas State, wow, they just went 15-15. We just got them to 500. It's not a great basketball team. You just can't have this happen. Like, honestly, even if we would have pulled this thing out, Chuck, I was about to just say, listen, let's just opt out. Let's opt out of the bubble right now. We're not going to make it anyway. What's the point? Like, this team isn't there. I know we were, in our heads, we always do this. We held on to hope. We're like 4 straight. Like, Lily was telling me before the game, he goes, listen,
save your money.
4 straight.
Yeah, save your money.
4 straight.
Save your money. Why pack the suitcase? Why spend $1,000 to go down to Nashville? Save it for the Cayman Islands. Find somewhere else that's nice and tropical. Because the gym with the Cincinnati Bearcats on the floor is not going to end well. We've seen this story. We've seen this sample size 4 years now, and it is such a precarious situation where you can point to the product on the floor so clearly and say, this is not working over and over again, and you're not going to do anything about it. And it gets to the point where you can sense the apathy in the crowd. Like, we were having talks in the group chat, and I'm like, there were MIC teams back in the early, 2009, 2010, whatever, that weren't very good teams. But UConn came to town. It was there was an atmosphere. Now, I'm not comparing this team to UConn, Kansas State, but they got some talent. They got Tang. They're Kansas State. They got a big fan base, and just to have that performance all around, it was a tough watch with those beautiful jerseys on too. They should go back to those Adidas jerseys that Marcus Sykes' team was wearing. That's what they should have to wear the next game, because you got to honor those.
They look pretty, but they played some of the most disgusting basketball. We might be entitled to compensation just for watching this entire season. What a roller coaster, man. Like we never quite could find out what this team is. Still to this day, March 5th, 2025, we have no idea what this team is. I mean, they're putting up 90, they're putting up 49, they're putting up 50 burgers. Next thing you know, they're going for 80 multiple games in a row. And I really didn't think this would be the game that we would end our hopes and dreams. I really thought they'd come out and win. I mean, 8.5-point favorites at home. Senior night, usually guys come out with energy. I mean, our seniors just sucked. Like, this is the last game they played at Fifth Third. They just sucked.
Let's go through that. Let's go through that, man, one by one. Because Day Thomas and Connor Hickman both decided not to walk. It sounds like they could be returning for the Cincinnati Bearcats next year. Let's not bury the lead. That's huge news. I think Day is a really good basketball player, and obviously he'd be welcome back at any point in time. The other three seniors, CJ Frederick did not play in the game. He has back issues. We probably won't see him again in the Bearcats uniform. Simas Lukosius, a guy that was dropping 30 last year, that was hitting game winners, that you could put the ball in his hand and he would make a play. I do not know what happened, man, but 4 points in the game today, 2 of 5 shooting. He went from the team's leading scorer in the out of conference to just irrelevant for the most part by the end of the season. And then the other senior for the Cincinnati Bearcats that's honored, Aziz Bandaogo. I mean, 9 and 7. He fouled out in the game. He gave it his all. It's just that lasting image that we'll have of Bandaogo. And he's not going to have a chance. I mean, he will. He'll have more games to rectify that mistake, and hopefully so. But it's like the Deion Dixon dribbling off your foot. You know, it's just something that regardless of what happens, you're always going to remember that play. And now, the nice thing about Deion Dixon is he followed that play up 2 years later with a dunk in the Sweet 16 to take down, or to go to the Sweet 16 and beat Florida State. Electric moment. I remember that more. But Bandaogo, man, that's on the all-time blunders in UC history. Not to hammer a kid too hard. On the all-time blunders of UC history, like that is up there in that situation. You're saying it was West that was yelling the foul?
Listen, now he might.
Didn't we have like 3 team fouls?
Yeah, he might have just been trying to do the thing, but once it gets under, it jumps back up to 20 seconds. Once it gets under 20 seconds, it resets the shot clock. So you can't do it after that point. So West may have been, I couldn't see the exact angle, but before that, he was yelling to foul. And you could see Aziz look over, oh, we got a foul. And then at that point, you had to get them to the line. You make it a 2-possession game. But yeah, I mean, looking at these seniors, man, like, this is not how they envisioned their last game in a college basketball uniform on their home floor, man. Like Simas Lukosius, 2 of 5 with 4 points. Like we thought he was going to be one of our studs this year. He has been nothing close to that. I don't know if there's like an injury. That's the only explanation I can have for him. And now he's missing open threes too. Like it's just been really tough for him. And Aziz Bandaogo, listen, he is what he is. I'm okay that this is his final season. I think he's played his ass off. I really do. He's just so limited. You know, you can only do so much when you're that limited offensively. And, you know, Connor Hickman and Day, I guess, are coming back. We'll see what happens, but they're going to have to overhaul this whole thing, man. Like, you can't bring back a core of this team whatsoever. Again, all our offense was simply Jizzle James and Day Thomas shooting contested jumpers and shooting contested layups in the lane, and they're about 6'2" and under. Like, it's not a recipe to win in the Big 12.
You're burying the lead, Houdini.
Yeah,
You're burying the lead. It's Josh Reed. I mean, that's the lead of the game today. We'd given him so much hype. He'd been playing so well. Enters the starting lineup for a stretch there and really came back down to earth. 1 of 9, 0 of 6 from 3. Did have 7 rebounds. I mean, he's still going to give you good defense, hustle, size. Yeah, like he's a good basketball player, but they're putting him in situations where 9 shots, that's third most on the team in the game today. This is a guy in the non-conference that was getting DNPs. Well, I mean, what the hell is going on?
This might be on us, Chuck. We might have created this monster because we were like, Josh Reed just saved this season.
Is Wes listening to the show? Is that what's going on here? Like in the offseason when we're like, Skillings, Lukosius, all these guys coming back. Wes, you got to retain everyone. We're telling them what to do in the portal, essentially. Go get Arrington Page. I mean, we could not have been more wrong about this team.
Josh Reed had it was almost comical because he seems like a great kid and he plays his ass off. His defense was fantastic. He put Coleman Hawkins in a couple bad spots. He was turning the ball over left and right, but he had that step back 3, airballed it. he had another fadeaway jumper. I'm like, dude, Josh, we love you, but for the love of God, the season is on the line. We're getting fadeaway jump shots by Josh Reed. I mean, he's almost hitting the damn Jumbotron every time. It's just, at the end of the day, this roster just doesn't have it. I mean, I hate to just pile on people, but it's like, what can you point to that was positive? Dylan Mitchell was disastrous. I mean, just a disaster class.
Here's the thing, man. Houdini. Let's say it again. Yeah, we'll get into Dylan Mitchell in 2 seconds, but we got to say this again because it's the slogan of our damn show. We yell because we care. If we get to a point where as Bearcats fans, we're not upset with this performance, then that's an issue. Uh-oh.
Where'd you go, Chuck? Where'd you go? Oh, we got Kirby on.
Hey, everybody. I'm Nick Kirby. How are you? Hold on. For those of you listening on the audio podcast, give me 2 seconds to change it back to the old webcam. What the hell happened?
I mean, this might just be the gods telling us just to shut it down at this point. I mean, what more can you say?
They're like, hey, there's only one thing that can save you guys. His name is Scott Satterfield.
I mean, it really is. I'll run through the shooting splits here while you're trying to fix that. 21 of 57 from the field. That's 37%. 2 of 18 from 3, 11%, and 5 of 11 from the line. 45%, man. Like on senior night, guys, with our lives on the line, we're trying to sweat March. We're trying to tell Rothstein that he's got to put us. Maybe Rothstein knew. Maybe we should have trusted Rothstein.
We should have listened to Goodman day one. We should have listened to Goodman day one. Yeah, I mean, Goodman knew it all along, and we called him a rat bastard. That's on us. Sorry, Goodman. Welcome on the show anytime. Yeah, so getting back to it before my camera interrupted me. Don't even know how that happened. First time for everything. We yell because we care. And if we get to the point where we're not upset about this, then it goes back to like Hudson and I, we're OU alums, but we don't yell about the Ohio Bobcats. It's nothing more than like a group chat. And if they make the Sweet 16, we're probably on a one-way ticket, but this is our passion, man. It's 2 guys that grew up in Cincinnati, like this team, this program, the energy around it, it means a lot. And when the energy is just negative and it's tough to watch, I mean, at a certain point, I'm just begging for a change of some sort. And the only change we're going to get is if Wes changes the roster. And I mean, I don't know if it's philosophy or if it's just roster construction, but whatever he's been doing has not been working. The Xavier Musketeers down the road got rid of their coach after 4 years of not making the NCAA tournament. And quite frankly, I thought had better teams than the Cincinnati stretch has been. And they let him go. He's clearly a decent coach based off what he's doing at Miami, but he was not high major. And guess who they landed? They got Sean Miller because there are good coaches out there waiting for opportunities. And I think you get a presidential term. I really do. In this day and age, at a school like Cincinnati, I think it's a very fair barometer. Entire presidential term. Did you leave it better than you found it? And the answer is not really. I mean, the biggest gripe with John Brandon was everyone was leaving. Everyone was terrible. I mean, that was a team that was not very good, and everyone was getting ready to leave. So be it. As of right now, the roster is probably going to have to look a lot different. So, turnover there.
Some of these guys are going to, like Dan Skillings is going to leave and he's going to, average 14 somewhere. Like, you just know it's going to happen.
Sure.
So it's definitely part of the roster construction. There's no question there. We have a lot of guys that are okay in specific roles. Not a lot of stars on this team, and you need stars, especially if you guys got guys that can't shoot the rock, and we don't have many guys that can shoot threes. But it comes down to Wes Miller and the coaching philosophy, getting guys in the right spots, offensive mindset. I mean, what the hell are we doing out there? It really is just one-on-one and one mixtape, LA Fitness style basketball, and just hoping we can, make contested shots all game. And the one thing we had going for us, Chuck, was we didn't have any quad 3 losses. No bad losses.
It's over.
Loss.
Forget
that.
The
there it is. Yeah, there's our quad 3 loss, guys. So
we played bagpipes weeks ago. Like, this is nothing new for us, Houdini. We knew. We called the season months ago.
I knew it was done. I knew it was done. I told Lily, I woke up.
We're not fools.
I woke up pissed off this morning. Not really for any reason with UC. I was just a pissed off guy. And I said, hey, you know what? Maybe there's a little bit of sunlight on the horizon. Maybe they win this game. And they came out and did this to me. So now I'm even more pissed off. And there's not much more you can say because Wes Miller is coming back. We might have to do the same thing again. Sean Abayev, I hope you are what we think you are and can totally flip this thing around. But he's got work to do in the portal, man. Big time.
Yeah, he's got work to do in the portal. I mean, the Limp Biscuit is not supposed to be ever brought out during the month of March this early in a Cincinnati Bearcats basketball season. Like, we don't talk about it nearly enough, man. But this, out of what, 365, whatever it is, it's days of the year, 322 NCAA basketball Division I programs. I mean, the Cincinnati Bearcats for a while there had what, the longest and the third longest, fifth longest streak, whatever it was, 2 separate tenures. Like, it was Michigan State, it was Gonzaga, I'm sure Duke was in there, maybe Kansas, 1 or 2 other teams, and it was Cincinnati. We were in there. Is just a perennial, you get into the NCAA tournament. At worst, we'll be like a 9 seed. I don't think the Bearcats ever even sniffed a 10. Seriously, it was at worst a 9 seed. And now everyone's getting all hyped up. You know, we got Lily giving out 9,000 renditions of how many losses we need from other teams just to be on the fucking bubble. And it's like, this is embarrassing. I'm embarrassed, quite frankly. I'm just embarrassed with the product that we're watching. And I hate it because I think Wes is the dude. The players love him. Every single one, past or present, is basically stated that he's an awesome guy. Coaching wise, he's a damn good coach. I mean, he's won many games, granted at a smaller level, but in this position, he's had a presidential term and he has not left it better than he found it. He's left it the exact same, and that's just an irrelevant team.
Well, we just can't win any big games. Like, for perspective, Kansas State is a bad basketball team. They're 15-15. They are not going to make the NCAA tournament. They're 5-8 in quad ones. Wes is 1-9. Like, it just, even bad teams find a way to beat teams that they shouldn't beat. And I wouldn't even say it's that far. Like, we should have won plenty of quad one games this year. Like, you can't get swept to West Virginia. You can't lose to Utah on the road, which would have been a quad one. Like, there was plenty of opportunities the way that the net rankings work to get quad one wins. And it doesn't even have to be on the road at Iowa State or on the road at Houston, at home at Houston even. And he just doesn't find a way to win these games. And it's been consistent. This isn't a one-year trial run. We've seen it for 4 seasons, 2 years in the Big 12. I don't even want to do the math. What does that make us in the Big 12 now? I know they switched how many conference games we have, but it ain't pretty. We're well below 500. Listen, we're still going to back Wes because he's going to be the coach. And you're right. If you could say all you want negatively about the guy, he's still got all these guys on board somehow. I don't know how guys haven't just completely quit on this team. Even Dan Skilling seems like mentally he's not moping around. He doesn't have bad body language. He actually played a decent game tonight. 3 of 5, 7 points. Like, over the last 6 weeks, that's Dan's best game. So credit to him on that front. But as far as just the basketball product that we've seen, it has been an embarrassment, and just not. I like to say it's not what we're used to, but it's like this is actually 6 straight seasons that we've seen this year.
This is what we're becoming used to. And here's the hard thing about doing, because we yesterday, for those that you don't know this, Hudson sometimes joins me on the Locked On Warriors podcast and has that Cincy logo in the background, and we talk a little NBA. And this is I have no idea what I'm even talking about, dude. Like, I've completely lost it as a fan, as a human being, as a productive member of society. The Bearcats have they've broken a lot of us this season. It's been an extremely difficult watch, and it doesn't seem like there's anything in the future except for having blind faith in West that he's going to go out in the portal, completely overhaul it, and flip this thing around, because he talked about how important continuity was the entire offseason. The continuity portion did not work. So it's going to have to be the flip it all over in once and hope that the thing sticks. But I just don't see it, man. And it's tough. Yeah, I don't know what my NBA analogy was getting to. It was going to be a banger. So if I remember it, I'll let you know. But
to be fair, in the offseason, and I think Lily Niehaus mentioned this a bit, if if we wouldn't have retained a guy like Dan Skillings, a guy like Seamus Lukosius, we'd have been pulling our hair out. What the hell is this guy doing?
You're
You're
not
not bringing
wrong.
these guys back. Like, you need the core back. And they just shit the bed, man. Like, and a lot of that's on the coach too. There's no question. Like I said, I believe that Dan Skillings will go somewhere else and the grass will be greener for him and he'll play a lot better than he has. Granted, some of these mistakes, it's like, I don't know what the coach could do. You're handing the ball off to the other team. You're dribbling it off your foot. You're being a turnstile on defense. Like, the coach can't play for you. So I think it's kind of a mixed bag on whose fault it is. But at the end of the day, it falls on the head coach, Wes. He's making a big, big salary. That buyout is real juicy. We know that. So there's not a lot of positives to look to, unless the only positive is looking at some of these schools that have completely changed everything in one season. And there's been plenty of it because of the way the portal works. That's the only thing you can hope for. Cross your fingers. Maybe West figures out how to run an offense in the offseason. We'll see.
All right. The light bulb went on in the head. The whole NBA crossover thing, that was not just a shameless plug. It was basically saying that with the NBA, you have no issues saying, like last night, we were basically just like, God, Buddy Hield, what an experience he is, trash for 30 minutes and then just lights it up with a couple of threes, yada, yada. Collegiate basketball, for the longest time, there was that unwritten rule where you kind of, it wasn't quite high school. Like if we came out here and we're taking a page out of Yappy's book and we're, talking shit about the Elder Panthers on the airwaves, it's time for us to grow up, right? College basketball is like that weird medium to where it's like, how far can you truly take it to, being fans and being critics as compared to just saying, let's support the kids. They're just kids, right? The money aspect has changed this entire thing. And it's quite frankly sad that it's gotten to this point. But at the end of the day, when you hear of guys making $500,000 from someone, and I don't know if you've been, from someone that's been fired at a job before in life, like at the end of the day, you're not performing. It's get the hell out and you gotta deal with it. Like we've all been there.
Yeah. I mean, there is a fine line because they're still young. I know they're making a ton of money. They're making more money than a lot of people on the damn stream. When you see numbers getting thrown out that of role players making $350,000 in a single year, so it definitely changes it. But you still don't want to absolutely crush these guys. I don't think any of these are not like bad kids. Like you're not dealing with locker room problems off the court.
No, they just can't win a basketball game. They can't consistently win a basketball game. It's as simple as that. They could play. These guys are good basketball players. They would rock every single person on this stream. 1,000%. There's no argument. Jesus. And forget just the stream. They'd rock 99% of the city of Cincinnati. They are incredible basketball players. But what this stage of collegiate basketball demands in the Big 12, you got to be better to a certain extent. And I think Wes has done a very bad job of evaluating that over the years. Go back to year one. It's like you bring in Jarrett Hensley and McGinnis, and then year two, you run it back with Hensley. And then like, how long does it take to realize that some guys are just mid-major players? I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I do think he's going to get better. Like, I think he's a smart dude. He's learning under Roy Williams. He's still really, really young. He's raw at this stage, but to a certain extent, how long can we wait? Because if that's Cincinnati Bearcats basketball, watching a game on ESPN Plus on senior night with your tournament hopes on the line and literally thinking it's an exhibition game, it was louder at the Ohio State game. We were both there, 100%.
Close, not even close. Yeah, it was way louder
legit
at the Ohio State
exhibition game.
Right, and here's the thing with this team. Like, let's say they lost this game and we were, 12-6 in conference play, which we thought we would be. We were projected to finish 6th, right? We're going to finish about 11th or 12th in the Big 12, probably when it's all said and done. Probably 11th. When you're projected to finish 6th, and you lose this game when you're 7-11 in conference with your tournament lives on the line, it makes it so much worse. That's why everybody's piling on. That's why we're so pissed off. Like, you couldn't afford to lose this based on what you did in January. Like, they pissed the season away in the month of January. They found a little bit of a stride. You can accept maybe a dud game here and there, but after what we did to start this Big 12 conference slate, you can't afford this type of game. We got swept by Kansas State, man. We got swept by Kansas State. It just can't happen. Like,
swept by West Virginia. Well, I don't think we've beaten West Virginia since our return to the conference, or since our arrival to the conference. Have we beaten West Virginia? I mean, I guess we beat them in basketball last year. Football, we've lost to them twice. This year, lost to them twice. Lost to them last year in the regular season. We took 2 of 3 last year against them. But
We've
I don't know,
beaten
man.
Chuck. We've basically beaten in TCU. They might be like 500 in Big 12 play, but teams that are above 500, BYU. It's the only win that we have in Baylor, and Baylor's floating around 500 as well. Like you didn't beat any elite teams besides that BYU game, and that's why we have one quad one win. And that's why I thought, hey, when the committee really looks at this, that's going to be glaring regardless. If we would have won 4 straight, granted, that would have probably gave us at least one more quad one. But when other teams have 4 or 5 of those, and you only have one, and we're relying on quad 2 victories, like beating Utah at home, like it doesn't look good. We just weren't a tournament team this year, so maybe it's a good thing that we don't have to see this shit. No, it's not. I would have loved it. I would have loved to be in Dayton.
The thing is, they're going to be in the Crown. I think it's obligated, right? It's obligated. You're playing in the Crown. We say, no, we're good. No, you get your ass to Vegas.
Well, we'll see.
You get on that charter, and we'll see you there.
What if the players, because this is the first time that they've done this, that they're contractually obligated to play in it. What if guys just opt out and just say no? Like, a Dan Skillings that says, like, I already got an offer at, Clemson or something. What if they just say they were not playing? And then all of a sudden we got to pull CJ Anthony's red shirt. We got no players. Maybe me and you go out there. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. I mean, the NIL, it's so confusing. It's such a nuance that's been added to this entire thing. And it sucks that we've gotten to this point. We used to love 4-year Bearcats players, watching Gary Clark coming as a freshman, seeing all the potential, Justin Jackson, then seeing them as seniors as completely different players and like ambassadors of the program. That's awesome. And this whole transfer portal thing, it's the biggest get off my lawn take, and the having DJs in the stadium instead of the band doing the dun, 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 hey, dun, 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 dun. Like that's the Bearcats I grew up with, a bunch of the band members doing this and the crowd, a little Bearcat bounce on Fox 19. I mean, that's just, I guess, the nostalgia coming out. It can't all be the same, but it can change in different ways, right? And it can be enjoyable. And we got the jerseys back. We got the false hope, and everything that we've seen, the product on the floor, man, it just does not feel like the Cats that we knew for a long time. It bridged multiple coaches, and they go out of house. This entire coaching thing's been so fascinating because Wes, for being someone that has zero ties to Cincinnati, to the Big 12 as a whole, like he got a very warm welcome. And he's had a very long leash, and a lot of Bearcats fans have really, really believed in Wes. And based off the body language and just the noises in Fifth Third tonight, like I don't think people believe. People want to believe, right? Like Chad wants to believe. Some of these people want to believe that he's the guy and say that no, the best option here is to stick with him, give it another year. We don't have the NIL money to compete. Hogwash. I mean, the people that say, oh, it's too difficult to change conferences. We were in a better spot than Houston, or the same spot as Houston right around the pandemic. That was not that long ago. And think of how quickly it's changed and how they've entered a new conference and guns a-blazing. It's just, God, I'm pissed off, dude. What a tough way to really lose.
It's not like this is a cheap roster either. Like we had enough NIL money to be a very competitive team this year and make the NCAA tournament. I mean, this is not a bottom feeder as far as NIL funds from everything that I've read. They have enough money to compete at a very high level, and they just didn't do it. Whether you want to blame roster construction, the coaching, it's clearly both, in my opinion. But we have the facilities, we have the fan base, we have the NIL money to consistently make NCAA tournaments. Not a very high bar, and we have not been able to do it. That's another UC class, Chuck. We were actually getting on them, the students, the student section, not being very loud because you hear a pin drop in there, man. Like you really could. And, looking back, I'm like, well, none of these guys have seen like legitimate UC basketball in person.
Huh.
They've never made a tournament. A freshman just graduated as a senior, will graduate here in May. Never once seeing the UC Bearcats play in the NCAA tournament.
And forget just
That's
tournament,
probably
competitive basketball in March. Because this game, last year's March, the year before's March, like give me a break. They've never been in actual consideration of the NCAA tournament entering the last couple games of the season. They haven't.
I mean, the team last year was better than this year. Like flat out, I've seen enough. The team last year was legitimately better, which is wild because we retained the guys we apparently wanted to retain, got rid of the guys we didn't want, brought in a Dylan Mitchell, brought in a Connor Hickman. We got worse. That's probably the biggest issue with Wes Miller, in my opinion, is seeing us regress, seeing certain players regress. And it's got to come down to coaching to some degree, especially when you're seeing our guy, our favorite guy, Vic Locken, tearing it up at Clemson. And you just know these guys have the talent. I think Dylan Mitchell's probably the biggest what if piece. If we're moving on to that, like, do you want to retain Dylan Mitchell? Because I'm not sure if there's a salary cap, quote unquote, on this roster with the NIL stuff. I'd much rather have a couple of guys that can contribute versus paying a boatload of money for Dylan Mitchell because he's just limited, but he's awesome. He plays his ass off, but the rebounding sucks. He can't shoot free throws and he can't shoot threes. Like, it's really tough. And he only has a left hand. So that's something that they're clearly going to be looking at. My money is if Wes, the way he's acted his whole tenure, if a guy wants to come back, he'll be like, we're bringing him back. That's what I think he'll do. If Dylan wants to come back, first off.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of the human being and the basketball player, CJ Frederick, like former Pacelli Panther, great basketball player, state champion, good collegiate basketball player for a long time. But to a certain degree, like most of the fan base had kind of seen last year that it just was not working out. He was consistently injured. That had been a theme the year prior to. When he was on the floor, he wasn't really using that gravity much because quite frankly, he didn't shoot it a lot. There was never really a game in his career where he got up 7-8 threes and you thought, all right, this is going to be the CJ microwave game. He's always just kind of out there for a few minutes, taking up some space. And look, Wes brought him back. And then years prior, there were guys like Odie that, didn't play a single relevant minute the next season and brought him back. And then Sage Tolentino brings him back. And look, I get it. You can't strike gold with every single member on your roster. But when we give Wes all this credit for being a great recruiter, and it's like, oh, 4-star Rayvon Griffith, Wes Miller literally said in his press conference earlier in the week that he almost pulled a red shirt off CJ Anthony because too many of his guys are banged up. And I'm like, you got Rayvon sitting on the bench. You're not going to play him and you're going to pull the red shirt off CJ Anthony, a walk-on? There's a 4-star. Tolentino was like a 4-star that UC beat Auburn out for. And it gets to a certain point where you go up and down the recruiting rankings and you're like, is he that good of a recruiter? Like, what are we hanging our hats on here? Aside from him being the politician, and if he was a U.S. senator, I'd probably vote for him, especially if he was running against Tubbs. But I mean, what are we leaning on here? It's been the weirdest, longest leash in collegiate sports history for a coach that has really done nothing, that has no ties to the area. And I don't know, but I'll tell you this much: the front office / the presidents, chancellors, ADs, all those important people, they're either going to look like geniuses or jackasses here, because there's a chance that Wes turns this thing around, right? There's always a chance. And if he does, then it's like, all right, young coach, Roy Williams product, got a McDonald's All-American into Cincy, like stands for the right things. Thank God they didn't fire that guy. Or it could go the complete opposite way to where we're doing this again March 5th next year, and I'm legit throwing shit through my drywall.
I think you're right. Like, I hope, me and you are in our, we're 45 and Wes has now been there for 15 seasons. He's got, 6 Final Fours, a national title under his belt. We're like, can you remember when we were calling for his job, man? What a bunch of morons we are. Other than that, if he doesn't make the tournament next year, he's going to be gone. The buyout drops tremendously. They're going to be forced no matter what, how much you like Wes. And we love Wes, man. You're right. He says all the right things. He seems to get it too. Like
It's
he
like a
knows what the
genuinely
kid's like.
good dude.
Yeah.
And that's what's tough
And
about this when the human aspect gets intertwined with sports, but it's a business.
right. And when you look at, hey, is he a good recruiter or is he a good coach? Like, I think when you get these guys, it's not like we're the only teams offering them. Like a guy like Betsy, he had plenty of high major offers. It seems like we're not developing guys when they get in the building. Because other teams wanted these guys. Like if we didn't offer Tyler Betsy, he could be in Arizona's uniform right now. Like he's
Creighton or
clearly
UConn.
right. Like it's not like he's just picking guys that no one else wants. This isn't a Cincinnati football thing where you are like, oh, their other offer was Southern Miss. Huh. That's interesting. Wonder how we landed him. So I mean,
I'm more excited about Scott than Wes. Oh, it's sad.
These are high major recruits. And then if you look at like a CJ Frederick, like he wasn't anticipated to be a rotation guy. Like when we did the exhibition games against Ohio State, it was like break glass if needed, throw CJ Frederick in, a guy that's been around forever. He can knock down threes. And then next thing you know, we're going up and down this roster. Connor Hickman gets hurt. And we're seeing, guys like Seamoss and Dan Skillings just look horrific. Then you're like, wait a minute, Josh Reed, throw him in the starting lineup. Rayvon's getting run. He was trying everything. I mean, he really was. After the first, it took him a while, 15 games before he started actually switching things up. But then you were just kind of figuring out, hey, this might be what we are. I think Josh Reed got a little energy into this starting lineup, or the offense at least. But at the end of the day, it's the Jizzle and Day Thomas show. I can't say it enough. Mid-range contested jumpers with small guards. And that's what my worry about bringing both of those guys back is. Are we going to fall back into that? Because that's just not going to get it done. Like, I don't hate Jizzle James or Day Thomas. I think they're dogs. Like, they're UC guys. Like, they're just dogs. They just get it done. They compete at the highest level. But you cannot rely on two small guards being the focal point of your offense. Just can't happen.
You had to end it with the vocal. The vocal focal. You struggle with that one. Final score in the game, it's 54-49 in favor of Kansas State. If you're into the stats, let's give you Mitchell 2, Bandego 9, Jizzle had 10, 12 for Day, 4 for Lukosius, 2 for Arrington Page, 7 for Dan Skillings, 3 for Josh Reed, 36% from the floor, 11% from 3, 2 of 18, 45% from the line, 5 of 11. And 2 very pissed off hosts that have struggled through a long season. I'll tell you what, man, the summer is going to be weird because we're not going to have these podcasts every weekend because basketball and football season, obviously football season bled into basketball, and we've been going nonstop weekends around the clock. Summer, I don't know what I'm going to do, man. Like, what am I going to do on a Saturday when I'm not pissed off at high noon?
It's a great question, Chuck. I think in the meantime, what we do is we beat Oklahoma State. That's going to be a quad 2 win. Then we rattle off, I think, 6 straight and win the Big 12 tourney. I mean, we saw it tonight. They can turn it on when they want to. I think they had 12 points in the first 3 minutes of the game and then proceeded to score about 30 for the rest of the remainder of the game. So I don't know, man. I really don't know what to say positive at this point. It's unfortunate that it ended this early. I actually thought we were going to lose in Stillwater and end the season, lose to Oklahoma State on the road. I did not see this at home on senior night. Just an abysmal performance. Tough for Wes. Tough way to end it. Bad coaching, bad strategy. Just brutal through and through, man.
Wes Miller's tenure in a nutshell. Expect the expected. That's what it's kind of become. Expect the expected. And the expected was based on what we've seen from now almost 4 full years of this. Like, this was exactly the type of game that the Bearcats would lose. I think this was the same exact spot last year as Oklahoma State in town. Same exact spot. They lost that game too.
Yep.
So if you were a betting man and you believe in seeing into the future, this was that game that you take Kansas State money line. Instead, Houdini and myself took the points, and we weren't even fucking close.
Hawkins was on one leg too. Did you see that? He was limping around. Like, he had to have like a freaking pirate leg just to get up and down the floor, and we still lost. It's incredible.
It's good stuff, man. Hey, here's what we're all rooting for right now. The Xavier Musketeers beat Butler today. They think they're back in tournament consideration. let's see the snub, man. Let's see that snub on CBS Sunday with Jim Brown or whoever. Who's hosting nowadays? R.I.P. Greg Gumbel. I guess it'll be Adam Zucker. I think it's Zucker that'll be hosting it on Selection
I don't even
Sunday.
have the energy. I don't even have the energy anymore, Chuck. Like, I don't even care what Xavier's doing. Like, I'm putting so much negative energy into the air.
Here's the thing. They're irrelevant.
I'm like, I don't give a shit.
I texted my buddy this because he was getting on me and he said, you guys aren't doing anything. And I said, congrats, dude. We're both fans of irrelevant programs. I said, it's actually I hit him with a banger. It got, when you're in a group with like 9 people and it gets 7 ha-has, that's when you know you spit fire. But I said, irrelevant, just like everyone else on the bubble. Best case scenario, you get a Sweet 16 trip out of it. You drop $3,000, cry into a bunch of your college nerds buddies' arms, then lose by 25 like every other team that doesn't belong. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're a Muskies fan, that's what you have to look forward to. We're just saving money. We're being fiscally responsible, not spending cash on a team that is going nowhere. And that's the story of our season. The story of the season actually was back in December when the Bearcats took down the Musketeers. What a high that was, climbing up to 15 in the country. We'll have blinders on. We'll be looking in the rear view for the rest of this season because those were fun times. This, however, is not. Final thoughts on the way out the door here, Danny.
God, I hope there's not a UC fan out there that, got hit by a bus or something, went into a coma right after we beat Xavier, got to 15 in the country. He wakes up just in time for March. He's like, well, what is it? Dad, what's going on? He's like,
we at 3?
He's like, yeah, we're a 4 seed. He's like, we're a 4 seed. We're playing West Coast. He's like, son,
we're a 4 in the crown.
Son,
what's the crown?
The crown tournament. Oh God, Chuck, they did it to me again. We got to expect this at this point. Tough season, man. We'll keep doing the shows. We'll keep rooting on the guys, but just brutal way to go out.
Yeah, we got spring football coming up soon. I think the team's going to be decent. And granted, a bunch of people are going to be coming at me with pitchforks for saying I believe in Scott Satterfield. But, hey, we got to hang our hat on something. And as of right now, for whatever reason, I have more blind faith in Scott, who has led actually a big-time program to decent success than West right now. That's an unfortunate thing based off how we felt in, like, December. But that's life. Houdini? Good stuff. We will see you after the Oklahoma State game. God forbid.
Go Reds.